Most tourists visit the Pantheon to see the world's largest unreinforced concrete dome. They marvel at the colossal granite columns. They take a selfie with the dead king, and they leave, stepping right back out into the noise of modern Rome. But they stand in the exact center of antiquity, completely oblivious to their true surroundings, because they're missing the most important part.
They're standing inside a machine. It's a 2,000-year-old high-tech clock and map of the heavens, designed not just to house the gods, but to harness the sun itself. This superstar of antiquity hides a solar design of staggering precision, a hidden engine built to bind the emperor, the sun, and the very cosmos together.
We are looking at a masterclass in geometry, a true temple to the heavens. Its northward orientation, which is highly unusual for Roman temples, since they almost exclusively face the sunrise, is the very first clue to its mechanical purpose. The building is designed so that a perfect sphere of 43.3 meters in diameter could fit exactly inside it. Think about that. A precise diameter of 43.3 meters, a matching height of 43.3 meters, a mathematically perfect geometric sphere suspended entirely within the cylinder and the dome. And up at the summit, the oculus width sits at exactly 8.3 meters. The dimensions of this 8.3-meter oculus absolutely weren't chosen at random. Through rigorous, mechanical calculation, we begin to see the true function of the architecture.
This brings us to the Hemicyclium concept. Because to understand why a temple to the sun would actually turn its back on the sunrise, we have to look outside the realm of traditional architecture entirely and dive into the realm of ancient technology. It's fundamentally different because it was likely inspired by a specific type of ancient timekeeper, the Hemicyclium. Now, this was a roofed spherical sundial, essentially a stone block carved into a hollow hemisphere with a hole at the top. The Pantheon is, in essence, a giant, symbolic version of this very device.
Through that rigorous mechanical calculation, we can see that the oculus acts as the gnomon of this giant dial. It's the physical pointer, an eye of empty space, pulling the sun down into the architecture to accurately track the solar descent across the year. The sunbeam moves up and down the interior wall accordingly. At the winter solstice, the sun's altitude is at 24 degrees. At the equinox, the sun's altitude hits 48 degrees. And at the summer solstice, the sun's altitude reaches exactly 72 degrees.
During the autumn and winter months, the sunbeam resides in the upper hemisphere of the dome. And at the winter solstice, when the actual sun is at its absolute lowest point in the sky, the beam reaches its highest possible point on the vault above the entrance.
And that leads us to the equinox alignment.
Exactly on the equinoxes, the tracking sunbeam hits the interior springing of the dome. That is the exact, precise horizontal line where the cylinder finally becomes a sphere.
By using these deliberate solar markers, the building creates a cosmological signpost. It elevates the stone far beyond a simple mechanism. It physically binds the passing of seasons, of time itself, to the eternal architecture of the Roman state.
This wasn't just about knowing the time. It was about demonstrating that the Roman Empire was in perfect harmony with the cosmic order of the universe.
April 21st, the traditional birthday of Rome. It's a date absolutely steeped in this myth of blood, earth, and fratricide. For the empire, you have to understand this wasn't just some calendar marker. It was literally the anchor of their reality, a day when they believed the veil between the mortal city and the divine cosmos was expected to thin. On this day, the sheer weight of history pressed down on the capital, demanding a spectacle that transcended mere human achievement. And right here, on this exact meridian, the Pantheon executes its most calculated, frankly, megalomaniacal feat of engineering. We're not talking about a simple trick of the light here. It's a forced alignment of the heavens, designed entirely to serve the vanity of a single man. This massive stone rotunda, shrouded in purposeful shadow, completely transforms, shifting from a temple into a literal astronomical instrument of power. The architecture itself acts as a trap for the cosmos. As the sun reaches its zenith at local noon, this solitary pillar of light descends through that 27-foot oculus. It creeps, agonizingly slowly, across the shadowy coffers of the dome, descending with this deliberate, terrifying precision, until, with sheer mathematical inevitability, it perfectly seals the vast entrance threshold in blinding brilliance. You realize every single stone was cut, every angle calibrated, for this exact astronomical second. Now, historians call this a hierophany, a physical, undeniable manifestation of the sacred. But to actually witness it, you immediately understand it as a weapon. The architecture absolutely demands that you believe the gods are physically present in the room. It completely bypasses the intellect, striking directly at our primal human awe of the cosmos. It's weaponizing the sun itself to legitimize supreme earthly authority. Place yourself in the suffocating crush of the Roman elite on this anniversary. You're standing inside the shadowed belly of the rotunda. The air is heavy. Those massive bronze doors stand open to the blinding city outside. And you just wait in the dark. The tension is suffocating. It's a carefully curated sensory deprivation designed specifically to make the impending optical violence all the more devastating. Then, the emperor approaches. The crowd falls dead silent. He steps into the portico, and the very moment his foot breaches the threshold of the bronze doors, that calculated beam of cosmic light strikes him perfectly. He doesn't just walk into the room. He ignites. The surrounding shadows violently frame this solitary, glowing figure, completely isolating him from the mortal realm. In that blinding fraction of a second, the optical illusion fundamentally reshapes reality. The mortal flesh is visually burned away by the glare. He's no longer just an administrator or a general. No, the architecture has physically fused him with Sol Invictus, the sun god, tethering his bloodline to the very bedrock of Rome itself. It's a visual coronation performed not by human hands, but by the celestial sphere. It is just a staggering display of psychological dominance. A living man circumventing mortality right in front of you. Before the eyes of the Senate and the plebes, he is being quite literally added to the gods by the sun itself. To stand in that room, to witness this cosmic validation, it strips away any thought of rebellion. The architecture literally proves that his rule is a mandate written in the stars. But here's the thing, this wasn't a new idea. It was actually the refinement of an older, much darker madness. A precedent of solar obsession that had already stained the history of the empire with profound megalomania. Decades earlier, the Emperor Nero attempted a sort of proto-version of this solar theater. Deep within the labyrinth of his infamous Domus Aurea, the Golden House, he constructed the octagonal room, a space built purely for the worship of his own ego. It was an architectural fever dream, designed entirely to elevate a tyrant to the realm of the divine. Nero's architects essentially manipulated stone and space to capture time itself. The oculus up there wasn't merely a hole. Its perimeter was strictly defined by the celestial pole. It was calibrated so that only once a year, on the exact anniversary of Nero's violent accession to power, the midday sun would fall perfectly across the threshold. It's a mathematical obsession, manifesting as an altar to absolute tyranny. You see, Nero possessed the madness to conceive it. But it was Hadrian who possessed the cold, calculating genius to actually perfect it. By burying Nero's radical celestial mechanics inside the traditional facade of the Pantheon, Hadrian created the ultimate summa, a flawless, inescapable machine permanently welding Roman religion to absolute imperial power. The interior of the Pantheon is meticulously organized into 16 distinct sectors, a geometric echo of the cosmos. Every pillar, every recess, every subtle alignment within this colossal dome was designed to represent the very architecture of the universe itself, binding the earthly realm to the celestial spheres above. It is a layout that mirrors the ancient templum of the gods. For centuries, Etruscan and Roman priests used this sacred grid to map the heavens, dividing the sky to read the will of the divine. By projecting this invisible celestial map onto the physical interior of the Pantheon, the architects transform the building into a literal manifestation of the divine order. The viewer does not just stand in a room. They stand within the mind of the gods. In this ancient cosmology, the most favorable gods occupy the northern sector of the sky. Consequently, it is only the northern part of the Pantheon's interior that the sun is ever able to illuminate. The southern half of the building remains completely untouched by the sun's rays. It dwells in absolute, permanent darkness for the entire year. This shadow domain is strictly reserved for the chthonic gods, the deities of the underworld, presiding over the shadows in a perfect, eternal balance of light and dark. While we marvel at the pristine cosmic order of the dome, we must confront the hidden engine that made it possible. behind the marble and the sacred geometry lies a stark mechanical reality, an economy of human endurance that the empire deliberately obscured from the light of the sun. The massive cylinder that supports this celestial map was built with millions of bricks. Try to visualize the sheer weight of that number. Millions of individual clay blocks, dug from the earth, shaped by hand, fired in scorching kilns, and hauled across the landscape of antiquity. It is a volume of raw material so staggering that it required a logistical apparatus unparalleled in the ancient world. These were not merely crafted. They were mass-produced, forged in vast, brutal factories, staffed by as many as 50 slaves at a time. This was an industrial-scale operation of relentless physical toll. The perfection of the heavens was quite literally built upon the breaking of human bodies in the heat and the dust of the Roman brickyards. The high-tech solar precision of the elite was fueled by a specialized human workforce, the fuel of the empire. These laborers were the ones who realized the architect's dream, molding the very clay that now maps the heavens. But this structural marvel did not stand in a vacuum. Hadrian's Pantheon wasn't just an isolated monument. It was deeply embedded within a larger, highly orchestrated sacred space on the Campus Martius. Here, among the monuments of past rulers, the emperor was establishing a profound physical connection to the legacy of Rome itself. Its facade does not face outward at random. It points directly to the mausoleum of Augustus. This creates an unmistakable visual link across generations, drawing a straight line of divine authority between the current emperor and the very founder of the dynasty. Consider the phenomenon of the summer solstice sunset. As the longest day of the year comes to an end, an observer standing at the Pantheon would watch the sun descend and perfectly disappear behind Hadrian's own mausoleum. This breathtaking alignment proves that every stone, every shadow, and every ray of light was a calculated move in a cosmic game of power. In this investigation, we have seen that the Pantheon is far more than a temple. It is a giant instrument of time, a map of the gods, and a stage for imperial propaganda. It reminds us that for the Romans, architecture was the ultimate cosmological signpost. By seeing the sun, they saw the empire. For those who seek deeper immersions into the hidden mechanisms and architectural mysteries of antiquity, we invite you to subscribe to Vantage. Join us next time as we turn the hidden gears of history. Stay tuned.